Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of You Got This Equestrian. So I'm really excited to be joined today by Nadia from Tales of an Anxious Amateur. So I am going to get her to intro herself because she'll do it far better than what I will.
Oh, hi Hayley, thank you for inviting me on and to share, I guess, a bit of my confidence journey. So my name's Nadia. By day, I'm an HR director and also training to be a counsellor. So I'm heading into my qualifying period later this year. And actually, it kind of all links back to my confidence journey with the horses, because it's been some of the support and help I've had with that that has led me on to then wanting to find ways that I can then give back. So my early days with the horses, not my younger years, but when I was at my most, what I would call successful amateur kind of show rider level, I've got 2 Arabs, 2 different ones now than I had at that point, but pretty much a decent level amateur rider, fairly confident. I didn't really think about, oh, don't go to that show because it's too busy. I would merrily compete at any venue on my horses that I could afford to get to, really, and that I loved the people or the places or the judges that were competing. And I thought, yeah, that'll be a lovely day out. We'll head there. And pretty much, obviously, if you're into showing, you probably are all dreaming of that day you can go through the curtains at Hoy's. So that was always my dream as an amateur. I didn't ever get there, but it was always my dream and what drove my passion for showing. But pretty much I've been around Royal International, so I got to that county level, been to the Arab Nationals. I think my best place, my defining moment was a 4th place at the Arab Nationals with my Arab that I'd produced myself at home. He'd been backed for me, but everything else I did. And then a few years back, I sadly lost him, and I actually moved away from the breed, got a show cob, was just doing all the fun things you do with a kind of getting to know your pony. And I'd had him about a year or so. And I took him away to a camp. I love going on riding club camps and things where it's just ponies and Prosecco. It's just
weekends, aren't they?
Exactly. So you're doing all that fun stuff, and I woke up in a hospital. So the last thing I remember was it being the end of camp, the end of my lesson, and the last thing I can recall is the instructor saying, "Give your pony a big pat. It's been an amazing time. We're done." And what I remember after that is waking up in hospital. And gosh, that took a lot of coming back from. And I was kind of just recalling off air before we started this that one of the overriding thoughts that from that next day when I woke up was that I didn't want anyone to know. And I can't even tell you why, other than I didn't want anyone to know that. I don't know, was it embarrassment, a mix of embarrassment? What will people think? How will I be judged? Will they suddenly think, gosh, she can't ride, she's overhorsed herself? And I had an amazing person help me find this horse, and genuinely it was just one of those random accidents. From my best recollection of that time, I had a good 3 days at camp, but yeah, just that thought of what people would think, and how did they go from seeing someone that was, doing fairly decently at the level they wanted to be at, having great fun, to suddenly being in hospital, and how would I ever come back from that? And in fact, that ground me into a real kind of almost like I was frozen, like stuck in time for quite a while with those feelings and those thoughts and emotions. And that really did play out with my rider confidence journey over the years that have transpired since. I did go on to sell that horse because I actually just couldn't find my way back with him, and I think he needed someone that was, if we put the professionals up there, he did a lovely job. So I knew actually sometimes, you know, you do need to find the right horse, and I needed a horse that would help me come back and get my confidence back, because deep down I still had that love we all have of riding and of having our horses, and that time you spend at the stables, and that was still there. So it was, you know, how can I get the support and the help and even the right horse to help bring that confidence back. And he's probably the main feature of my Instagram is the Dudester.
He's gorgeous.
He is an absolute gem. My husband named him Dude because he had a show name when we went to buy him. And actually, he was only 5. And I'm sure lots of people would think, gosh, she went and overhorsed herself again. Well, we went out there to the people that had watched me win, lose, come off, lose my confidence, and quietly just put the feelers out. Wanted to have another Arab because I had a real connection with them, but we wanted to buy safe. We didn't need to buy something to win me anything. We wanted safety, laid back, the right attitude, a horse. And that's when someone found Dude for us. And he came from an amazing team. They produce a lot of Hoy's winning breeds. But they said, we think we've got the one for you. Come and try him. And then they actually gave me 3 months of lessons on him before they let me bring him home. They said, let us help you while he's here at home, get your confidence up with him so that when you get him home, you'll have less of that. I've only sat on you 5 times or whatever you sometimes get to do when you're buying. So they helped me take, I guess, the real anxious moments out of the purchase by allowing him to stay where he was. And they would teach me every week. Which was incredible. Yes, it was a 3-hour round trip for me, but they said, if you're willing to do it, we're willing to do it. And I just thought, I mean, you don't hear of that often, someone who's trying to sell, but then will keep the buyer kind of involved and help you on that journey. So that was incredible. So he came home, and I think this really resonated from your own story. But, you know, I think I'd had him a year, and we were at a dressage show, and then one day I couldn't get on him, and I was there in all my gear at Snowball Farm in Slough, all my gear. He stood at the mountain block, doesn't move a foot, and I still can't get on him. And I just, all those feelings just kind of got to the point where I literally couldn't step off it. I had, you know, really, I don't know, I just shut down, I guess. Everything suddenly became very overwhelming, and it was all the fears and emotions that I had from that accident came flooding back. And I've had help with it and support with it since, but I always did wonder whether not really remembering in that moment or I would say that within the couple of years after, I never really remembered what happened to me. And does that all, you know, at some points, stuff does surface, you know, it starts coming back into your conscious mind over time when other things that are similar will trigger it. So I've never been nervous of riding Dude. He's an absolute poppet, but it that day really overwhelmed me. And it took a lot to then go, gosh, I can't get on my own horse. How am I going to come back from this? You know, this isn't something, and I've got some brilliant riding instructors, but there was something more. I needed some support off the horse as well, you know, to actually try and uncover what's going on for me. Do I actually want to get back on? You know, is there some level of me where I've kind of need to take a step back for a while, or actually, no, the desire is definitely still there. How do I come forwards again? So I went and found a kind of coach that works with people off the horses. And helps you to just uncover those patterns in your mind, what's playing through as you go to do the things that are then causing you the most angst, and actually understanding that don't just keep trying to take myself to the mountain block if every time the same thing, because I think sometimes as riders we hear a lot of people saying, well, you've just got to keep practicing getting over that cross-country fence, that just bloody get on him. I'll hold him down. There's nothing wrong. Well, it didn't matter. I mean, believe me, the first few times I did just say to someone, could you just hold him, feed him loads of polos? I'm sure at some point. But bless him, the pony never moved throughout any of those things. So it was never him. it was definitely there for. And obviously riding instructors, they're thinking, I can't teach you unless I can get you on. So we need that step before. So I went and got some mindset coaching. And there's probably a lot of people out there, you know, we see them on Instagram. There's some great people doing mindset coaching in the equestrian field at the moment. I found that really beneficial, to just have somebody help me to unpick what was going on for me in those moments and help change some of those negative automatic thoughts I was getting, and just to help me understand that it was absolutely okay to share what was going on with me. Because I think, like I say, when I look back to the moment I had that accident, the first thing I remember saying to someone was, don't tell anyone, don't put it on Facebook, don't, you know, I don't want anyone to know this has happened to me. Gosh, it was a relief being able to feel like I had a safe place to say, this is what I'm experiencing every time I walk up to that mounting block. This is what's happening, and can you help me? And just asking for help, I think, was the biggest step forward of all of them that I've taken. Just knowing that it's okay to say that, and to not worry about the people going, are you sure it's because you can't ride this one? He's only 5, he's only this. Well, no, you can see him perfectly stood still. I've had lots of lessons on him before he came to me. I know that he's the perfect pony we went searching for, because actually he wasn't allowed home until they were also equally happy that I was his perfect new mum. So we'd done as much of the homework and groundwork that you can do when you're purchasing. So I knew it was all those other people that like to stand in a stable yard and give their input, or I guess for some of us nowadays, pop it on social media and tell us their thoughts as to what's happening for you. That wasn't actually what was going on for me, you know. So it was good to have someone that I could talk to that helped me understand, this is your journey, this is your confidence journey, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. It could be a real quick process, or it might take longer because there was real trauma at the that, you know, that triggered it. Even if that trigger was a while back, it did come from, I guess what was at the root of it was I didn't really know what had happened to me. So that was quite an interesting place to be, where I wasn't really sure, but I knew it was terrible because when I woke up, I was in a hospital. So I think that just processing those thoughts and having a place to do it. But I then found some really good tools to help me through it. So just visualizing how my ride would go was one that I've used a lot. Even if that ride was simply getting on and walking one, honestly, right back at that beginning bit, that visualization was just to be able to get on, take a deep breath and go one section of the long side of the school. It wasn't
the same.
Yeah, it wasn't great, I'll be back in the ring next Tuesday trotting around the dressage arena. It was, can I take a deep breath, get on, know that the pony will still be happy and relaxed, I will be as well, and off we go. And another great kind of tool I had was really acknowledging what was in my comfort zone at that point, because I had lots of people saying, well, when are you planning your showing season again then? Are we going to see you back at the counties? Are we going to see you coming back to the Arab group shows? Are you going for the amateur stuff? What are you doing? Are you heading to Royal International? And I was thinking, gosh, I can't even get on my horse. And the pressures. But in the end, I just thought, right, where am I today? And what's in that comfort zone? And then what is it I actually want to get back to doing? So what sits just outside it? And what would I love to be doing, but it's way out there in the panic zone. And if I got there, I'd probably have a heart attack. And then I just really worked on over a good couple of years. This didn't come back to me at the end of 2 months or 6 months, or it took a good amount of time for me to make the kind of changes I needed to feel the real confidence you feel to go and do the stuff I used to be doing. But actually what I learned was, it doesn't matter if I don't have those same desires and goals anymore. I'm so happy just knowing that when I get on, I'm gonna have a lovely ride, no matter if that ride is like last night. I just did an hour's stroll around the common in the glorious sunshine, thinking I was meant to meet a hacking buddy. They couldn't make it at the last minute. Normally I'd have gone, oh gosh, but I thought, let's just go. If I have to get off and walk a bit because I get worried, do it. We can still get out there. Actually, because I set off with that more positive mindset, we had a glorious ride. I didn't have to worry about anything. Off we tootled together. But it's that, I guess, not letting other people set the expectations for my journey has been a big thing that's helped. Knowing it's okay if you have to redraw that comfort zone at any point and go, actually, I know 2 weeks ago what was in it was X, Y, Z, but I think it's back here now. How do I slowly push it again? And knowing that it's okay to slowly push it. You don't need to go from A to B in a fortnight. If it's going to take you 2 months or 3, it's no one else's journey with your horse.
Just a process, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the other bit I really learned was the dudester doesn't care if he's a show pony or not. He is the happiest happy hacker since I came back on this confidence journey. And yes, I did get back in the show ring with him. We did win our very last, or our very first county show. I won at Henley with him. And I remember sending everyone a picture that most of you wouldn't buy from the photographer because the legs, you know, you want your legs in the right position. It all looks, but they captured me at the moment where I was riding past a fun fair. And all I did when I rang my trainer after the class was I was just shouting at her, I rode past a fun fair. I rode past a fun fair. I didn't actually say, and I won, because although that was amazing and it's lovely to get the frillies, isn't it? And it was the fact that when I was going round, that I just had that confidence that I saw that fun fair at one end of the ring and I was still riding for it. I wasn't, you know, I was feeling like I can do this. But now actually he's just my happy hacking pony, because it's funny sometimes how what you think you've always wanted, you don't actually mind if it is or it isn't. It was that for me, it was getting the confidence back to even want to do it. So it was very funny. That was our last show together, because it was kind of like, well, I've proved to myself, not to anybody else, that actually I can work hard at this. And if I want to, I've got a horse that I can do that with. And then and then COVID hit, I guess, as well. So he and I have had, you know, more of a laid back kind of hacking journey. But interestingly, hacking was never in any part of my comfort zone at all. So it's, for me, whilst I'm not, you're not going to see pictures of me trying to get him back in the show ring. My gosh, when I look at hacking is now firmly in my comfort zone. And when we were able to over the last year, I started to join a friend an hour away. So I would drive myself, join her on a route I didn't know. That would never have been in a comfort zone in my wildest dreams before. So I just applied those same principles. The first times I went to join her, I said to her, I think I'll only be comfortable walking. And she was like, no problem, come with me. And it's, so I guess to speak to that point, having that supportive community around you, you know, surround yourself with the people that actually want to see you do well, because there's lots of people that do and there's lots of people that don't. So you may as well have the people that bring joy to your riding journey surrounding you. And, you know, there's nothing better than when I see people that are having an awesome time, whether that is just a hack, whether they do show jump, dressage, go showing. I got some friends that absolutely adore Lautrec. You know, I love seeing them enjoying their horses in whatever way. So yeah, I think having the right people around you has supported that confidence journey as well, because they celebrate the little wins, which to someone else are nothing, but to you, like even last night when I sent, I've got a lovely little supportive WhatsApp group of similar minded riders, and just sending them a picture of me like with dude's ears saying, I'm out on my own. I'm only walking, but I've done it. you know, and I haven't ridden him for the last 3 months because he's also quite an accident prone pony. So he managed to have a fall in the field this side of Christmas, a serious whack to the head, and then get a nail in his foot.
Oh, wow.
Wow. All this side of Christmas. So yeah, last night was the first time I'd sat on him, and I just thought, well, off we go. It will be what it is. And I think because I had that, I guess, that level of it will be what it is. Let's just go and enjoy it. If there's points that aren't to plan, that's okay. We'll figure them out when we get to them. He was an absolute puppet. But it was lovely to have those people to share that with as well, who would know that, yeah, it isn't just an hour's hack. It's everything else that goes into that then makes that an hour's walk something really enormous for you, the person that's experienced, you know, even when a 5-minute ride up the long side can be one of the most stomach churning experiences of your life, even when you really want to do it. So I think the biggest thing I would say about confidence journeys is they're not linear. They don't perfectly go along like this, do they? Mine's gone up, down, up for a long time. You know, it is what it is, but you can always use them same tools that you give yourself to come back from them, to expand what it is you're comfortable doing, you know, and to do what it is you really love. You know, I think so long as you love the time with your horse, whether you ride it, whether you do in hand stuff with it, whether they're just your garden ornaments that you love as family members. Yeah, I think I think the good side of the equestrian world will start coming out with kind of podcasts and blogs like this, I think, so we can all start to just to remember why we all do it. And I think we all have that common core passion for loving our horses, and the rest of it.
A big expectation on, you know, you've got to achieve this, you've got to be at this level, you've got to do. Why can't you just go out and have fun? And just even if that's leading them around a field in hand and just, or hand grazing or whatever it might be, it's just the time you spend with them and that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've probably been guilty of putting a lot of pressure on myself. I think all of us equestrians can do. I think, you know, especially when you do get into the competitive side of things. And I do remember a phase where if my summer weekends weren't filled with competitions, I would feel like I was missing out. Actually now, you know, and I've got a gorgeous new boy on loan from a friend that he's a veteran. He'll be 19 this month. I am extremely lucky. He's had an incredible showing career. And he will just be with me so that I can maybe do 2 or 3 veteran shows in the year. He's not a pony that's about to be driven around the country. He's done all of that, but for the if I want to moments, and he's awesome. Him and Dude have become best buds, and just knowing that I've got a second one that actually, you know, I enjoy basically joyriding him. Someone else has put in all the hard work and the mileage. I couldn't be more appreciative, because when I sit on him, the confidence I get, because it's all there, it's all pre-programmed. He's a beautiful schoolmaster, so he's almost landed with me for a couple of years, or hopefully if his mum's watching, I sent her a Valentine's message saying, can he be my Valentine's forever? But because me and Dude have, you know, he's helped me get my confidence back. This chap, Ralphie, has come along at the point where if I did want to just go straight into the ring, I could. And I know that he's unflappable. Bless him. He just says, hop on, I'll show you how it's done. You know, and that's quite nice to have, to know that I've got one that if I want to do 2 or 3 shows this year, you might see me back in the ring. If not, I just absolutely adore being able to hack him and do other stuff. But yeah, it's funny how Would I have got on something as well schooled as him when my confidence was low? I think most people would think you'd say yes, but they need a certain type of rider.
Yeah.
Because they're so highly schooled. They've got buttons they need you to know where to press. So I'm feeling like he's just magically appeared with me at the right time in my confidence journey to help me get those 2 or 3 moments this summer that if the weather's nice and we fancy a day out, me and my hubby will be taking him out and just going to see some of our old showing friends, I guess, and having that lovely afternoon in the sunshine with the ponies all done up. And funnily enough, my husband has come to 1 or 2 clinics with me recently, and he never comes to anything like that. And I said, what's made you want to come? And he's like, because it's so lovely seeing a smile on your face, no matter what you do when you ride him, because there's no ifs or buts. He just has a smile on his face as well. And he says, come on, if you've got the confidence to kind of push me on, I'll show you what's there. And he said, and that really to me summed up the last few years of my journey to now know that actually you can see it outwardly on my riding as well, that I'm just enjoying it. That's I think that's a huge marker of where I've come in my confidence journey as well, that now genuinely when I get off that mountain block and onto the horse, it's with the expectations and smiles of just having a lovely ride.
And knowing that however it goes is fine, because I think sometimes you can go out for a hack and it's amazing, and then other days you'll want to go and do schooling, and other days you might want to go jumping, and it's just being able to accept how you feel on the day, and that there doesn't have to be a huge amount of what you have to do with your horse.
No, exactly. Yes, I could take him out competing every weekend. He's fit enough. But actually, there's other things I'd like to do to just enjoy my time with them. I know other people might think, why don't you? You could win this. It's almost set up ready for you to do that. Well, yeah, like you say, I feel far less pressure now to kind of live up to anyone else's expectations and to just manage my own. And like you say, last night, glorious, just to walk around the common. Didn't even think about going for a trot or a canter. I was like, what a lovely stroll we're having. He seems quite content on the buckle. I'm really happy. This is a marker on its own of how far we've come. There doesn't need to be anything more to it than this. So
It's just nice to be able to have that time. I'm certainly far more relaxed and probably enjoy my horses more now than years back when I would have been showing. I'm far more chilled. They're far scruffier. They're nowhere near as pretty.
yeah.
There's no clean about my ponies now, but I'm far more chilled and far more chilled in myself, and that probably pays off on them as well, because I've not got the whole I've got to get ready for a show, this has got to happen, we've got to train this many times before we go, we've got to practice this. I can just rock up and do whatever I fancy, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think I still love showing. I still love going to watch friends do it. I still watch it and think, yeah, I've still got the love. I just don't always have the desire. And I think that's okay. Some weekends I look and think, oh, well, if there's a pole work clinic on, I quite enjoy that. I'll do that instead, because that's still fun for them. It's still something a bit different. Yeah, or I have booked us in for a little try at Lautrec because I thought, well, that also looks a bit fun and a bit different. I've done it with Dude a while back, and I just thought, well, why not? That looks like it's not far. It's still something for us to think about, have a go at. It's a bit different. Yeah. And like you say, I don't have to scrub them to death to do it.
Yeah, there is definitely. My thing was always jumping years back. I've never had the patience to do dressage. Can stand to do dressage with the kids all day long. Love watching it. Just my patience for actually following through on a dressage test has always been slim to none. But I have decided later on this year that's looking quite attractive, something a bit different to jumping. Yeah. I'm going to give it a go. but they do have to be quite clean, and that puts me off.
Yeah, maybe do it in the summer. It's easier.
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
I'm thinking. Yeah, I might do dressage like 3 months of the year, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I do quite like going for a hack because no one really stops to see what you're, you know, how pristine you are. But I do still love the, you know, the whole night before the show thing, getting them ready, just so long as it's not week in, week out, I think. So I'm sure I'll still give it a go this summer, but like you say, probably only 2 or 3 times. I'm not going to make it, I guess, something I get fixated on because, yeah. But I guess I've found through this confidence journey that I thought at the start of it, I wanted to get the confidence back, to be back aiming for those big shows. And actually the confidence journey has taken me on such a different route that I've found a love of so many other things, you know, and hacking, namely, something I never thought I'd even try and venture out and do. Yeah, it's interesting how just the journey itself and where it leads you to can be very different to where you first thought you wanted to get, and that's okay as well. You know, it's your journey, I guess, is what I'd say. You'll find people along the way that can support you, people that actually support you for a period of time, but then you move on needing some slightly different support. But yeah, it's interesting how it kind of goes.
And those peaks and troughs that I don't think ever really go. I think they're there forever, but you just learn to manage them better.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you end up with a toolkit that you can dig into when you need it to say, gosh, that didn't go as I thought it would, or that's chipped my confidence a bit, or you know, I thought I was okay with that, but then I wasn't. You know, I rocked up to a sponsored ride when I'd really started to feel confident. I thought, I know, let's take the Dudester on a what do you call it, a sponsored ride type thing. What I didn't realise when you got your time slot was like 20 people get the same time slot. Because I'd never been on one. I just thought, oh, how glorious. An amazing hack over a place that you can't go except when they run these things. And I got to the start line, as did like 20 others. And I had, for the first time in a long time, a full-on panic attack while I was sat on him. And bless him, he did nothing more than kind of, you know, when you feel them stand up a bit, that was the sum total response of him to a full-blown panic attack. And I actually couldn't get off him because in my panic attack, I couldn't undo my air jacket. Thankfully, because could you imagine if I'd exploded my air jacket, I'd have sent all 20 flying. But my friend that I'd asked to take me, and I'd asked her because I knew, she had done a lot of endurance with her horse. So she was used to partnering with someone. I knew her horse wasn't worried if people did need to overtake, because I thought at some points there might be people that needed to overtake you. What I hadn't prepared myself for was the volume of people at any one point. I thought this would be like if I bump into the riding school at hacking coming the other way and you've got that etiquette for overtaking and stuff. I didn't realise it would be but I think, again, it goes to that having people around you that know how to support you, because she did an incredible job of keeping me on board and then breaking it down really slowly for me, saying, we literally just need to get as far as that next tree. Do not think 3-hour sponsored ride. Let's break this down. Let's literally get from here to here. And she was giving me she made it, everything that I was getting overwhelmed with, she broke it down into such small bite-sized chunks that soon she got me moving. And, you know, she kept saying to me, in half an hour, you're going to be having the best ride ever. And it really started to go in, and my anxiety levels started to drop. And I was getting to each next tree with her side. She was, you know, our stirrups were pretty much touching. And she was making it a really supportive place, you know. And then we've got this incredible photo that I'll try and put on my stories to follow this coming out, that the photographer took of me and Dude cantering across the Wellington estate, and it was almost near the end, and she's not even in the picture anymore because she'd done an incredible job of getting to the point where she got me out of walk, she got me trotting, she got us into a space, because she was clear that actually if she left me in the middle of that big group, I would have been too overwhelmed. So she kind of forged a plan to get us into our own space, and then got us up walking, trotting, and then finally was like, let's just see. She said, I can still trot, you canter. She said, I've got the control. She said, I'll keep the people coming past at a distance, I'll control what's going on around you. And she did an incredible job. I did send her some champagne afterwards, because normally when your friend invites you on a sponsored ride, you don't think you're going to have to give them that level of support. But this picture at the end where we'd been cantering a while, and she said, you know, can I push on a bit? And I was like, actually, yes, I'm feeling like you can. And there's just the fact she was only just out the picture, but to me that picture, the fact I kind of managed to dig deep and use some of those kind of coping mechanisms to say, you know, I've got a very good one that was given to me that I've used since I couldn't get off the mountain block, and it's still part of my prep, and it helps just bring down my anxiety levels. And I just say to myself, in this moment I am fine. And it's a very simple something you can repeat that just helps bring those levels down, because it's basically, I just tell my brain I am actually fine, I'm not in danger. And it's a very simple kind of affirmation that just helps you ground yourself, if you like, because sometimes you can't always do that. Sorry, say that again.
Sorry, I was saying sometimes we do build stuff up in our heads as well.
Yeah. So just having that kind of affirmation that can just bring you back down and ground you, and say, actually, I am stood here, or I am sat on my horse, 2 feet in the stirrups, I can feel my hands, I can feel my reins, you know, I know that my back protector's zipped up, you know, or my air jacket's clipped in, or whatever those things that make me feel, I'm here, and I'm here right now. I'm not where kind of my mind is projecting me to be, or making me worry that I am. So just having something like that sometimes, if you are someone that, like me, in those moments of real worry, where, because basically what happened was the situation wasn't as I'd planned for. So then suddenly I couldn't cope with it, because it wasn't okay, if I'm there at 10:05, that's mine and Sarah's slot, and we're gonna go. It was me, Sarah, and 18 other people at 10:05, and then it went from there. I could feel my levels rising, because I was like, this isn't what I planned for. So just having something that you know can help you remember where you are in that moment, and that you are safe, and that you're not racing ahead with your thoughts to what could happen. And that it takes work, and sometimes it's easier to do that work off the horse. I can't always do some of the breathing stuff I do when I'm on the horse, because if you get into that moment, I actually find the grounding exercises slightly easier, because it's something I can just keep repeating in my mind quietly, rather than trying to think, breathe, do this, do that, do 20 other things. So for me, definitely the that kind of affirmations. Nowadays I'll visualize before I get on how well I want my ride to go, or, you know, so I can use the kind of projection of thought more positively these days. But yeah, there's lots of things you can do to help when you do suddenly have one of those really overwhelming moments. And also, there is no shame in getting off. And I see lots of people who just think that would be the worst thing you could do. And actually, it's not. If for you in that moment, being up there is going to make things a whole lot worse for you, what harm does it do getting off? You know, if you can reset yourself, start to feel more confident again on the ground, you know, work back up to getting back on. Well, don't let anyone tell you shouldn't. If that's in that moment, what will help you? I've had a lot of people kind of say, you know, what have you done when you've got worried out hacking? Well, if I've got that worried, and especially if I'm on my own, but I've done it when my hacking buddy's been with me, I will get off and I will lead, and I will wait until I feel a bit more confident. And then thankfully on the common I'm near, I know 2 places on my route that, especially when my confidence was lower, I would do a route that had 2 benches on it, like big sturdy wooden ones that I could park up next to and climb back on if I felt I wanted to get back on. But yeah, I just think if that's what helps in that moment, there's no shame in, you know, sometimes you can't finish that lesson because it's too overwhelming. Or would I have been upset with myself if I'd have got off at that sponsored ride and not made it? I might have been in the moment, but then I'd have assessed, did I really want to do it? And if my answer was yes, and I'd have seen, well, now I know that it's a kind of melee of 20 people at anyone, I'd have probably then done the work to prepare for it. What's interesting is I haven't done one again. I can't 100% answer why, because I do now hack with, I did start hacking with different people and increasing the number of people I hacked with, but I haven't yet put myself back in that situation where I would, because yeah, it's something that if I want to, I guess I would, and I could work on. But it hasn't, yeah, I've always wondered, but I've got such glorious hacking though by me as well. It's one of those things that equally, when you're thinking about what to pay for, when you've got horses and we know what they cost, and the dude still likes to injure himself quite a lot. I've got 200 acres of Chobham Common across the road, so I'm very lucky. Do I have to go and pay to ride somewhere else? But I think if I wanted to, I would just need to do a bit more of that prep work so that I knew when I got to the start to try and overcome the real overwhelm I had. I would need to do it, and I probably would do it if I could convince her to take me round again with that same friend, because she was very good at understanding what was happening for me and supporting me. And I also knew her horse would be absolutely bomb-proof in that scenario. So yeah, I guess that again, it goes back to this, having that support around you, that you feel comfortable saying, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. Can you help me? Because this is going to escalate. And just knowing that and actually, that, speaking of the getting off, I got off 3 times on that ride. Once to cross a bridge because I couldn't bring myself to be on the top of the bridge going over, but I can't explain to you why. I just remember that as we were chatting. Once when we got to the back of the estate and a whole herd of cows just appeared. I don't think the horse even looked, but I got off before I can even remember. And then walked a bit, and then, you know, she was like, there's some logs here. I think we'd gone for a few minutes. If you wanted to get back on, there's something you could climb on. And I don't think I did the first time. I waited to the next set of logs, but just knowing you could say that to somebody and say, you know I've come quite far on my confidence journey, but actually it's dipped again. You know, I'm going to need to get off. I know you've got me halfway round. But then, yeah, we did end with that beautiful canter at the end. So I think it does, you know, it can happen in the middle of rides as well. You know, that's okay. It's nobody else's ride. It's yours. If getting off helps, you know, for lots of people it doesn't. They stay on and it works for them to do stuff on the horse. But I've equally had a few people saying, you know, how do you manage when you can't stay on? Well, I think it's acceptance, isn't it? It's not how do you manage, it's about knowing it, so long as you're okay with it, that's okay. No one else needs to be okay with what decision you make about you and your horse, and whether you ride it or lead it, and what will help you best in that moment. Only you can really determine that.
And it's also how to project stuff onto your horse. If you're in the midst of a complete panic attack sat on your horse, actually, how's your horse going to react to that? Are you better on the floor leading it for 5 minutes while you manage to bring yourself back down, you manage to ground yourself a little bit, control your emotions, and then get back on in a better mindset, where then you can actually give confidence to your horse rather than sitting on and panicking? Because I know my fell pony, if I sat on my fell pony and had a complete meltdown, he'd think that something horrendous was about to happen, the world was about to end, and he'd completely freak out because he takes confidence from the fact you're perceived to be calm, sat on his back.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Sometimes it's that as well. It's that, you better get off of your horse, because if they start to get anxious and on edge, it's a huge vicious circle that's generally going to have the best outcome for your ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, I think I'd had Ralph a week, and I went to a little riding club thing with him, and that afternoon they did like a little treasure hunt. Now we know he's, pre-programmed, beautifully well-schooled horse. That equally means he's been ridden and produced by some incredible riders that you see grace the covers of our magazine. So he's used to ultra confident. I went out on the treasure hunt because I thought this will be a nice way, and a whole load of riders just kind of trotted off the other way. So they weren't doing anything they shouldn't have been doing. Like, it was time for the treasure hunt to start. Ralph just got a little bit excited, and I thought, oh, this isn't the bomb-proof horse I thought. And the minute he got a little bit excited and then I got anxious, he was like, oh, I'm not used to a rider that does that. I'm used to an absolutely rock solid rider that just does. And he got a little bit more excitable, is how I describe it, because he is genuinely an awesome little dude. But because I didn't react in the way he was used to, he's never been produced by anybody that is nervous. They haven't, he's not had that rider on top. And so actually I got off, led him around, grounded myself. Whereas in that moment, if dude had got a little bit excited by someone trotting off, I probably wouldn't have got worried, because I know him. And also, if I had have got worried, he does not get worried by my level of anxiety rising. He's very grounded in himself. Whereas Ralph, I thought, actually, oh, and to be fair, I'd only had him a week as well, so I wasn't sure if this was the level of excitement, or does it escalate? So that then didn't help with how I was feeling in that moment. But literally, I got off, walked him around for a few minutes. He probably thought, thank the Lord. I hopped back on when I was feeling calmer, and then we just carried on. And then I realised, actually, for he and I in that moment, that was the best thing to do, because he didn't know what I was experiencing, and he was not used to a rider that did that. And yeah, as soon as I felt like I could get back on, I hopped back on and rejoined in and kind of carried on. And I did have people ask, why did you get off? He didn't look like anything was going to happen, but I said it was what was going on the inside that I think I could feel was making him more excitable, because he didn't really know. And I said, like you say, I could have just kept that cycle going until we both weren't having a great experience.
It's just not worth it at all. You're better off finding ways to break the cycle, whether it's stuff like that,
absolutely,
confidence stuff, no matter what it is. It's just that reset, like you said, with not being able to get the mountain block. Find something different, find something that breaks that habit, so that then you can start to move forward. You can start to enjoy the little bits and build it up, because it's, like you said, yours took a couple of years. Some people's confidence journeys take weeks, some take years, and some people will never get back on another horse, and they will just be on the ground. My eldest child is going to kill me for saying this on video, but he's literally sat on a horse twice since I had my accident, because he's got this overwhelming thing of, what if? Now, the pony that he last sat on did one step forward, he freaked out, then he rode again about 3 years ago and managed sort of 5 minutes, and that's him done. He doesn't plan on riding again. He knows he's done it. He's done 5 minutes. He was fine. Nobody died. But on the ground, he adores it, and he will do stuff on the ground with them. He'll do in-hand groundwork. Loves it every day of the week. And I think sometimes it's having that, it's okay. If you don't want to ride, you don't have to ride to be an equestrian. We've all got this love of horses, and that's why we're all crazy enough to decide to put life in their hands most weekends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just remembering the journey's your own, and whatever shape and form that takes is absolutely fine.
Yeah, Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Nadia. I really love chatting to you. There is probably going to be a follow-up of this, because I feel like there's lots more we can talk about as well. But I will pop Nadia's Instagram in the comments as well. But go and check her out on Tales of an Anxious Amateur. Go see Dude, go see Ralph, and everything that she's going to be getting up to for the rest of this year, whether she makes it back into the show ring or carries on hacking. And yeah, I will catch up with you all very soon. Thanks so much, Nadia, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.